just a little quick thing. I couldn't record my own gameplay for this video, unfortunately, so I will be using this long play. I don't know which one I'm using yet, but I'll probably link it in the description somewhere. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. So I just got finished with Dead Space on the PS3, and I was originally going to make this a longer video, like my Bloodborne video, but I want to keep this one short for now. Even though this is a bite-sized review, I still have quite a bit to talk about for this game, honestly. I should probably give my actual thoughts on the game, though, and if I'm being honest, I really enjoyed it. If it wasn't obvious enough, I'm quite the survival horror fan. I'm a massive Silent Hill fan, and it's what got me into the entire genre of survival horror. I also really like most of the Resident Evils, if it wasn't obvious enough, really. And I enjoy some other games here and there that aren't big franchises, but I still like them either way. I've been meaning to play Dead Space for quite some time, but me being me, I decided to hold off on it most of that time. So when that remake came around, I decided, I may as well pick up the game since it's right around the corner, and I could play the original so I can have an opinion on the remake, even though I cannot play the remake, but that's beyond the point. To reiterate what I said though, I really enjoy the game, and it's definitely a fresh take on the entire survival horror genre. Sure, it definitely wears its influences on its sleeves, especially and admittedly Resident Evil 4, but the game really becomes its own unique entity after a while once you get really into it. The space atmosphere is so rich, with a lot of visual storytelling along the way, and I'm a sucker for industrial looking kind of scenery when it comes to horror, and this really does fit it because I'm a sucker for sci-fi as much as I am a sucker for horror, so it all kind of blends in really well. This is also one of those few and far between games that could deliver a good chill down my spine, and I have not experienced that kind of thing in quite a while in a lot of horror games. The sound design helps to add to that. Just the little whispers and little sounds and screams make you think for a second there's something else in the room. And it really does all that well, making you feel not alone in this space station. The sound design is like really excellent in this game. Like I cannot praise it enough, even though this is a bite-sized review, but still, it is worth praising because it really helps to add to the horror experience of this game, and it's worth it alone just for the sound design and the effort cannot be truly appreciated immensely in this. But the sound design helps the immersion further and the character of Isaac because it is important that you feel the most in the shoes of Isaac when you're in control. I always have mixed feelings on the whole silent protagonist trope in media, but especially in video games, I have some mixed feelings on the trope. Although I think having a silent protagonist for Dead Space really adds to the experience because it is also kind of in character, at least in my opinion, for Isaac to be silent. So it also helps with player immersion too, in my opinion, and it works. The gameplay is fun, and it's just enough to keep me satisfied for the good 10-hour runtime. The variety between all the weapons is enough for strategy in the game too, along with the whole dismemberment system for every single enemy. Remember, this is before the new Resident Evil games came out, so for 2008, this was absolutely a revolutionary thing in gaming in general. It forces you to kind of go out of survival horror norms of always going for the head and go for individual limbs instead. And I like how almost all the weapons are designed for that kind of thing, with most of them not being actual guns. And that's what I like about this game. It's a nice little attention to detail for small things like that. And it's well worth the effort and praise. I won't spoil anything story-wise because if you're going to play this game, you should absolutely go into the game blind. I did the mistake of already reading up on the story before playing it, and don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed the story and I still enjoyed my time, but it is absolutely best for you to know nothing and just go jump straight into the game. Although no piece of media is safe from its flaws, especially the ones I hold in high regard, though. So, time for me to talk about some flaws. Of course, if you're someone who has played the game already, I can't go without acknowledging the two turret sections in the game. I already suck at things like this in general when it comes to other games with it, so for it to be something that you have to complete is kind of something that I'm not fond of. If it was optional, I would probably cut it a bit more slack, but of course it is like a main story thing, so it's not going to leave unacknowledged. I know they lost the first game and they were still trying to find their footing, but I find the anti-gravity sections odd. I can't describe exactly what I'm saying, but something feels off. I don't know. I think it's probably because I've been playing the second game, and that game handles the anti-gravity stuff better, at least in my opinion, as I have to reiterate every single time. But as I said, it's the first game, so I kind of cut it some slack. And yeah, they're still trying to find some footing. I think the boss fights could have used some more work too. There isn't much in the game at all, but I think there's like 3 in the entire game if I'm not wrong. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. Uh, but they're kind of too easy or too gimmicky. Well, I guess most of it is launch this or cut this out of the 3 boss fights that I can remember. and the whole cutting gimmick is already a gimmick. So I guess I could cut it some slack. This is kind of the weakest flaw in the game. The boss fights aren't like bad. They could absolutely be worse, but I don't know, just something I feel like I had to acknowledge. Overall, I really enjoyed the game, and I absolutely recommend it to anyone that is into horror. You will not be disappointed, and this game has aged superbly, well after 15 years it came out. I'm curious how the remake will be doing, and I look forward to it, even if I can't play it, because I don't have a damn PS5 or Series X or a good PC to run it on. But I'll give this one a good and solid 8 out of 10 for one of my new favorite games and horror games of all time. Okay, now back to playing Dead Space 2.